All right, let's move on to the waivers.
Put me in, coach.
I bribed her to let me destroy myself.
Oh, that's
what
well
I
done.
did. Yeah. All right, waivers. Let's talk wide receivers. Generally, depending on the leagues you're in, I mean, the leagues that we are in, wide receiver is the place you're going to get the most value in the waiver wire at this point in the season, because for running backs to really ascend at this point, you're talking injury and then buying those guys off of injury. There are some guys that we like, and we're going to go through them. However, let's start with the wide receivers. Now, we saw good things from Davante Adams this week.
Finally.
Yeah, well,
Finally.
he's healthy.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah, well, the first couple games, he was healthy, and I don't know.
Would you rather have Davante Adams or James Jones rest of the season?
Davante Adams.
Adams just because of targets.
So he was 7 for 93. If he's available in your waiver wire, you go grab him.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are guys, so him and LaFell. LaFell had 5 for 102. Those are two guys that if they're on your waiver wire, they're must-adds. What I like to do in this situation is sometimes you have a roster that has some depth at wide receiver, and you go, well, I can't go get these guys. Well, yeah, you might be able to. Pair a couple of your players, your wide receivers together, trade them away, and then just restock.
Yep.
If these type of guys are on your waiver wire, go trade somebody. Go trade Marvin Jones.
A lot of leagues, trade deadline is coming, and people want to make moves this time of year. So, yeah, 2-for-1, even a 3-for-1 trade so that you can get a stud starter, and then you just restock.
Now, Kamar Aiken was 6 for 62 in his last matchup. He no longer has Steve Smith there on the other side. So he's kind of it's hard to call him a 1, isn't it?
Nope.
He's the 1.
He is the 1.
So you expect him
He's
to
like
lead?
Jet Li.
Let me ask you
He's
this:
the
do you
one.
expect him to lead the team in targets?
I do.
100%.
Okay, so Kamar Aiken, if he's there, grab him and start him this week.
Yes, this week against Jacksonville, like we said, great matchup. So
Okay.
I would plug him right in.
Okay, and he might be forgotten about in your league because he was on bye. So Michael Floyd is another guy that was on bye.
He's heating up.
Yes. Was that NBA Jam?
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 for 106 and a touchdown in his last game. He does have Seattle this week.
And John Brown should be back healthy. So,
But they play 3 wide, and Floyd is finally healthy and really getting it going. So I don't mind playing anybody from the Cardinals. Even this week, I know it's a bad matchup in Seattle. Maybe I'm being homer biased, but I feel like the Cardinals offense right now, nobody can really stop them. You can slow them down a little bit, but you can't stop that team for an entire game.
Pop quiz for Jason.
okay.
Top 3 quarterback touchdown numbers. Who's the top 3 quarterbacks with in terms of touchdowns?
Tom Brady,
Yes.
Carson Palmer.
Yeah. Wow.
Am
Yes.
I right?
Yeah.
And, man, that Drew Brees number really throws things off. That 7-touchdown game. I'm going to go.
That is a terrible noise.
Yeah, that's not a thinking noise, buddy.
And I'll go.
I'm gonna have a lozenge, and then I'm gonna think about this third one.
I'm going to throw Drew Brees out there.
Derek Carr.
Oof.
Oh,
Should have known.
I'm kind of cheating to choose Derek Carr because it's actually Carr, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, and Eli Manning all tied at
Sweet.
19.
Sweet.
However, that's impressive for Carr because he had 19 touchdowns. How many interceptions do you think Carr has?
4?
5?
4.
Oh, man. The car.
Jason was apparently staring at a stat sheet before we started.
He's not.
So I said all that because Palmer, even with the bye week, is number 2 in the league in touchdowns. So to speak to Mike's point, there's even if the yardage numbers for Palmer aren't there, he's a big guy. Floyd's targeted a ton in the red zone. So, all right, talk to me about Nate Washington because he's flashed, he's come back, he's played 2 good games. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't.
First off, he's nasty.
Nasty Nate.
Because he's nasty Nate.
One game without Cecil Shorts.
Right, and I think Shorts is scheduled to be back this week, so that can hamper the value of Nate Washington. However, I mean, Washington has been getting a ton of targets, and not every pass can go to Hopkins. Almost every pass can go to him, but not every single one. And that team just they can't run in Houston.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. For me, I wouldn't start Nate Washington this week, but I'd pick him up because of Cecil Shorts. Nate Washington benefited from him going out big time. And so now the question is, Cecil's back, But does Cecil come in and take that number 2 spot away from Nasty Nate, or does Nasty Nate keep it? And we don't know yet. The reports out of Houston that we just don't know. So we got to watch that game. If you want to stash Nate Washington in hopes that he keeps that number 2 spot, then I think he'll be a playable option rest of season.
Okay. Yeah, because Schwartz did miss both of the last two games.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about a couple of rookies that are on my radar, being a Dion Lewis and Arian Foster widow. Dorial Green-Beckham, Devin Funchess. Green-Beckham had 5 for 77. He actually got his fantasy production without a 1 for 12-yard touchdown. Interesting because of a couple of things. One, Kendall Wright was out. That's number one. So monitor his health. I actually think Kendall Wright's going to miss this week as well. So Green-Beckham could be a sneaky play, but he plays Carolina. The other thing is the coach changed there. Mm-hmm. And so if Wisenhunt was easing Green-Beckham along or had some problem with Green-Beckham getting snaps, maybe at this point they're realizing, hey, you drafted this guy pretty high. You need talent on offense. Let's use him.
Well, the new coach came out and said right away that Dorial Green-Beckham needs to become better as a run blocker. And he said that, and then he kept him on the field a lot and used him. So it says to me that he's in the mind of the coaching staff. If Kendall Wright misses the game, I like Dorial Green-Beckham, but the matchup is definitely no good.
Do you like him more or less than Devin Funchess?
Way more.
Okay, because Funchess, he had a good game, first good game, scored a touchdown. I think he had 70 yards. So you don't think Funchess has more of an opportunity because of the offense and the fact they don't have passing weapons?
He might, but I mean, we're this far in the season, and he only played 26.5% of the snaps.
Yeah,
I mean that's not a number. That number has actually come down since the beginning of the season. And while we don't like the weapons in Carolina, they're okay. I mean, Ted Ginn is here and there, and Philly Brown. I don't see Funchess surpassing those guys. And Green-Beckham is actually very interesting to me because of the coaching change. Let's see, because you don't have Ken Wisenhunt and his ridiculous holding rookies down. Put a guy out there. You drafted him really high. Let's see what he can do. Your season is probably gone. So let's build some chemistry between your rookie quarterback and your future, which is Green-Beckham. And he was in for about 67% of the snaps last week. That's going up. Now, he's still behind Justin Hunter, which, we'll see if he can surpass him. But I like Green-Beckham a lot as a stash to close the season.
For people that, it's been a long time since the draft season, since the NFL draft season. If you aren't personally familiar with Dorial Green-Beckham, he is a beast. He was one of the guys that a lot of the DraftNet community said, this guy maybe should be the number 1 wide receiver. He's just too raw, but he's like a Calvin Johnson. He's 6'5", 237 pounds. He is a physical freak. And coming out of high school, he was the number 1 highest rated football player in the nation. Okay, so this isn't just some guy that's like, oh, he's got an opportunity because Kendall Wright's down. Yes, that's true, but in addition, he is a physical freak that could perform in the NFL on a high level. So
he also, he led the team in targets last week.
That's what you want.
10 targets. So a very good sign for Green-Beckham. Put these 4 in order for our listeners: Nate Washington, Marvin Jones, Dorial Green-Beckham, and Funchess. If they're all sitting there on waiver wire, put them in order.
Marvin Jones
would be my first. DGB would be my second.
I agree.
Then Nasty Nate
and
Funchess.
Yep.
That's how I agree too. So
that's how I would do it.
Running backs. Let's talk running backs, guys. Right now, if James Starks is out there, you have to have him on your roster.
Yes.
I'd like to believe he's signed in most leagues, but he's not. I've talked to some people and talked about their leagues. That's the first waiver claim. But he was 6 for 83 for a touchdown through the air, 10 for 39 on the ground. And we really don't know what in the world is going on with Lacy. A report came out again saying, hey, we really got to get Lacy going. Well, duh. Tell us something we don't know. Fantasy world. It's killing people, especially this past week. So Starks is that kind of number 1 above the rest guy. So tell me some other guys that you are looking for on the waiver wire.
Well, James White, like we talked about at the top of the show, he's one of my I'm going to add him. I'm not blowing out my budget or things like that to get him, but I really want to speculative add him to my roster. And Karlos Williams, we talked about Shady McCoy may or may not play, but Karlos Williams is very solid. I mean, he was 9 for 110 and 2 touchdowns. He had a touchdown before Shady McCoy went down with the shoulder injury, and then after that, he exploded. So if Williams gets the opportunity, I think he can produce. Unfortunately, it's the Jets Thursday night, but I still would believe that Karlos Williams would be a solid running back to play this week.
Yeah, Karlos Williams is a great add. I definitely think if he was on waivers in any league that I'm in, which I've checked he's not, I would be putting a claim on him. I'll give you 2 guys that I'm looking for in some of my leagues. So you got Joik Bell, but that I actually
gross.
I know it's gross to say, it's a punchline, but the truth is he looks like he is the first in line, the starter on a team that wants to run the ball more. Now, of course, they're a bad team, so they're not always going to be in the games. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that Joik Bell is going to be a great RB1 or even an RB2 from a fantasy perspective, but he is going to be the RB1 on that team. They are going to try to run the ball more, and he's had success in the past. So he's a guy that you don't need an injury like Karlos Williams. He's just the guy, and he's probably on waivers. And then another guy that I'm adding, not to kind of a different situation, is Jay Ajayi. Now, I've got Lamar Miller, so if you have Lamar Miller, I definitely think you have to go to waivers and add him because
very much a Forte Langford situation.
Yeah, he looked great running the ball. They cut this morning Jonas Gray.
Yep.
So that says, hey, I mean, Jay Ajayi in college was unfathomably good statistically and fell to the 5th round, got drafted by the Dolphins.
Just because of injury concerns.
Right.
Knee concerns, yeah.
So he's a great runner. He's a great backup there, and he's a fantastic handcuff. The cutting of Jonas Gray, to me, says we found our number 2 guy.
And the last name I'm going to throw out is if Latavius Murray is out this weekend and you are desperate and you're looking for a running back situation, I would grab Marcel Reese. He's been a solid fill-in guy. Now, Tywan Jones is probably still the number 2, but Marcel Reese, I imagine, is going to handle all the passing work, and he's been a success story for fantasy when he's had to fill in like this for the Raiders before.
I completely agree with you. He would be the guy in on 3rd down every single time, probably, and he's going to have the reliability of just kind of catching a few passes at least. If you rolled Jones in there, you'd be hoping for a home run, and I wouldn't do it. So it's tough when you have a guy go out and then you have multiple choices behind them. Those are the hardest ones to pick. So, but Reese has been the guy before. All right, from the tight end perspective, if you had to grab a guy this week, Mike, who would you grab?
Safarian Jenkins. It sounds like he's going to be back finally this week. He takes on Dallas, and there's not a whole lot to go on.
I thought you might have a league where you get like points for guys that are supposed to play this week and then get sat down.
Yeah, I have a couple of those.
Christine Michael is hot.
He's always the top guy.
He's the top pick every week.
Safarian Jenkins, week 1 was a big part of the game plan. Vincent Jackson's status is still unknown. So if it's Mike Evans and Safarian Jenkins, I feel confident in Jenkins.
And we know that Austin Safarian Jenkins can catch the ball as well as Mike Evans. That's a guarantee. So
did we even get into the Mike Evans ridiculous? Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Okay.
I shared it, I think, just from my personal Twitter.
Dropping
So
it like
good.
it's hot. Like it was actually on fire.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron's a guy that you can probably start this week. He's been pretty good this year. And then Crockett Gilmore's a guy whose targets might go up because of the absence of Steve Smith, so pay attention to him. Give me some defenses that you're okay with this week.
I like the Steelers against the Browns. The Eagles, like we had talked about last week, why we were mentioning them so highly is because they have a string of decent matchups. So the Eagles versus the Dolphins, and of course the Bengals versus the Texans. The Bengals are probably not available, but those are 3 that stand out to me.